And we have AIM and OTC listed Poolbeg Pharma. It's a clinical stage infectious disease pharmaceutical company with a market cap of around £35 million. It operates a capital-light clinical model, which aims to develop products faster and more cost-effectively than the conventional biotech model. Poolbeg is targeting the growing infectious disease market, and Jeremy Skillington, CEO at Poolbeg Pharma, he's going to bring us up to date with what's been happening with the drug portfolio, including today's RSV AI announcement. Welcome, Jeremy.
Donald, good evening. Great to be here again.
So whereabouts are you live from tonight? Is it Dublin or is it London?
I'm live from Dublin, yes. I'm in London tomorrow, but I'm in Dublin this evening. So I head over to London. We've got a board meeting on Thursday. So
fantastic. And you guys have been busy.
We've been incredibly busy, and it's not slowing down either. There's a lot of activity, which I'll update everybody on tonight. But yeah, making some really good progress. So excited about that. I was kind of saying we're getting towards the end of the year, but there's a lot more to do yet. We're not thinking about.
Oh boy, you've got so much to do by the end of the year,
absolutely,
Jeremy.
Yeah. There's a lot of time to fill, but yeah, looking forward into a good start to.
So it's exciting for the investors though, because there's some guaranteed news flow.
Oh, you've seen the number of RNS we put out. We've been very active because we've got a lot of streams. We've got a lot of things going on in parallel, and obviously each one of them, as we make progress, we announce to the market what's going on. So yeah, excited about that.
Okay, now I'll be quiet and I'll over to you, Jeremy.
I'll take it from here, Donald. I'll take it from here. Okay, sounds good. So yeah, just moving on, the usual disclaimer. What I plan to do tonight, again, I know there's some people who are familiar with the story, other people might be new, so I'll go through a high-level Poolbeg Pharma and our origins and our strategy. So we're building a leading infectious disease company, a one-stop shop for pharma. We too, just like the last caller, looking at out-licensing as part of our business strategy, our business model to fund the company going forward. So we spun out of Open last year, renamed to hVivo right now. So they run human clinical trials, challenge studies for many, many years. We raised 25 million last year. As you said, Donald, we have a capital-light model. We had 18.9 million by the middle of this year. So again, we spend very judiciously, moving our programs forward, but not spending excessively so. Cathal Friel, our chairman, is a significant shareholder along with Schroders, and that's all declared. Focused on infectious diseases, again, that's our origin. So we build on what we know. And this market, again, post-COVID-19 is expected to grow to 250 billion by 2025. So we plan to be part of that. And again, the strategy pharma are very keen to build out their pipelines, adding in infectious disease assets. We mimic ourselves on Evotec, based in Germany, who do early development, preclinical, some early clinical development, and then partner with pharma. So they've got many programs partnered with pharma who then generate revenue through upfront payments, milestones, royalties, etc., and a very significant market cap that we plan to chase over the coming years. The team is outstanding. A lot of years in the industry, myself, 20 years in biotech business development, but I'm a scientist by training as well, so understand the business and the science side of it. So again, building our pipelines, we're focused ourselves on European and US markets, a lot of value there, and then potentially out licensing to Asian partners, so making the pie bigger, as it were, when it comes to partnering activities. And again, we're looking to build our own internal pipeline as well. Just a quick slide on the business model. For those who don't know, we're focused on infectious diseases. So some of these it's a rapid path to human data, and that's what pharma loves when it comes to partnering. So these low-cost clinical trials in infectious diseases, which you can do. These are quite rapid trials. You get early human efficacy data in 12 to 18 months, and I'll talk about 001 shortly and where we are with that. And again, the plan is to out-license with biotech pharma partners to take it forward and fund development, pay us for the work we've done thus far through deals and negotiation, and then that funds our pipeline. So it's kind of a circular model that we keep building from there. Again, fortunately, being in infectious diseases, we are going to be very active in the non-dilutive funding stage. So again, that'll extend our runway, as it were, as well as generating revenue through deals. We'll generate some revenue through non-dilutive funding options. Significant funds here, 96% of over 7.5 billion given to biotech and farmers focused on infectious diseases in this year alone. So it's quite a large focus on infectious diseases for obvious reasons. We don't want the pandemic to happen again. Again, I'll name check a few good significant deals here. GSK acquiring Affinivax earlier this year for 2.1 billion upfront. So that's the kind of monies that pharma are willing to pay for programs that they like. Pfizer acquiring Reviral for up to 525 million. Again, that's in an RSV program that they had, an RSV vaccine. So again, RSV is of keen interest to pharma. So moving on, as I say, a lot to get through on these slides. I do want to talk about our pipeline. We began last year with POLB 001 for a severe influenza treatment that is now in clinical testing. We in-licensed 2 programs, 002 from the University of Warwick, which this is a broadly applicable respiratory virus infection treatment and a prophylactic. And then POLB 003 in-licensed from University College Dublin. This is a vaccine against a bacterial disease called melioidosis. I do hope to touch upon those, time permitting, but I do want to spend the majority of time tonight on 001 and our AI programs. As you said, Donald, we announced in RNS this morning significant progress, significant discoveries from our collaboration with 13 Biotech based out of New York, focusing on RSV therapeutics. So again, as I say, we're making really good progress. A lot of upcoming catalysts, as you say, a lot of news flow will be coming as we progress with these. We also have an AI collaboration with SiteReason based in Israel, very highly thought of company who have multiple deals with big pharmas, and also progressing our oral vaccine delivery platform, which again, in the interest of time, I won't be able to speak to tonight, but happy to discuss offline if needed. I think what's exciting for the company is some new recruits we brought in, Sultana Rajbali, who's driving forward our clinical trial programs, and most recently David English, who now is heading up VP of Business Development, who again, as you know, fits with the business model. We're going to be a deal-driven company, out licensing the programs that we move forward in the clinic. So it's great to have Sultana and David as part of the team right now. And just to kind of, again, explain, we have an in-licensing model where we bring programs into our pipeline. We'll obviously build what we have internally first. So David has been tasked with, and he was at BioEurope as well a few weeks ago, looking for new opportunities, engaging with potential partners, both on the in-licensing and out-licensing fronts. Again, driving forward some synergistic deals, some synergistic programs that we bring in, and then drive value by getting early human data and then partnering thereafter. And that's the out-licensing model. So again, we plan to be rapid here. We have a very streamlined team here. Decision-making is rapid, all very knowledgeable and experienced. So we move things forward quite quickly. And again, with David at BioEurope, kind of laying the groundwork to begin the discussions around POLB 001 partnering as the human data comes in, again, fitting with the business model. So we'll have data on that POLB 001 by the end of the year. So again, excited to have David on board to drive the business development side of the company forward. So talking about POLB 001, this is our lead asset, clinical stage, potential blockbuster immunomodulator for severe influenza. And again, as a reminder, I know we've all been distracted so much by COVID-19, but influenza is still there. There's grave numbers coming out of Australia, whose seasonal flu season starts before our winter, obviously enough. But again, influenza is a disease that can lead to severe complications. The World Health Organization estimates 3 to 5 million severe influenza cases globally per annum. And that's the sweet spot that we are hitting, these people who get influenza, but then progress to a severe state where they're not recovering naturally and they need help, and there's nothing else there for them. And these, by the numbers, influenza alone, 1 billion per year, 5 to 10 million hospitalizations, and 500,000 deaths per year. So again, hopefully these will be preventable. But it's a knock-on effects as well, risk to kind of heart attacks, pneumonia, stroke. It's a pretty sinister virus that drives multiple pathologies with the patients if you're unfortunate enough to catch it. And of course, economic burdens as well. 11.2 billion in the US alone is the impact. So there's a big need for therapeutics for severe influenza. For our program in particular, clinical stage, as I said, it's already been through phase 1, the molecule that we've brought in-house. So it's safe and well tolerated. Importantly, it's agnostic to any viral strain, so it doesn't matter what virus appears every flu season, because we're tackling the immune system. And what happens, the immune system goes awry, and we're able to dampen it down a little bit again. Again, a lot of governments are looking at stockpiling for future pandemics, and this is a great candidate for that. So what happens if you get infected with a flu virus? It triggers an inflammatory immune response through a pathway called P38 MAP kinase. We've got a blocker of that. We've got a small molecule inhibitor of that. So again, that's what drives a cytokine storm, so we can block that cytokine storm. And if you do happen to get a cytokine storm, that's what causes a lot of the tissue and lung damage. So the molecule, the program itself, we've got patent protection out to 2038 as a method of treatment for severe influenza. and we're looking to expand our intellectual property to other areas as well to drive value for the company. So again, been very busy, very active in that space of late. The market itself, I'd say, is underserved, it's unmet, it's large and potentially growing. So 275 million for influenza alone, severe influenza alone in the US and Europe. But again, as I said, potentially beyond that for other diseases we're exploring. The clinical trial is ongoing in the Netherlands right now to a group called CHDR. They're making some really good progress there. We have down at the bottom, you can see 3 different doses that we've dosing: a low, a medium, a high, and we're progressing now into that high dose. So again, the study is progressing well. We hope to have kind of early readouts before the end of 2022. And as I say, we've got 36 volunteers as part of the study, and we're looking at the effect of P38 on an inflammatory response to LPS. And LPS is a bacterial fragment which drives the same pathways as influenza. So it's a nice, safe surrogate for a sort of influenza infection. So as I said, that's progressing well. We've got a whole host of endpoints that will, reading out, through the analysis of, the blood and various samples coming from these individuals who are volunteer for the study. So again, as I say, progressing well, and excited to see the data ourselves on that. So we hope to have, as I say, kind of the kind of early indications by the end of this year. So again, excited about that early program. Transitioning now into our AI, artificial intelligence data analysis. I know we've announced 2 deals we've done this year, one with 13 Biotech focusing on RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, and then the second one with Cytoreason on influenza. But as you said, Donald, we announced this morning in RNS that our AI program used multiple novel RSV drug targets. And again, that was part of the goal for the study. And again, as I say, great, delighted with the progress that we're making with 13. We're meeting with their co-founder and chief technology officer in London on Thursday to trawl through this data even further. Again, for those in the know, I mean, it's interesting, we're experienced with COVID-19, we're experienced with influenza, maybe RSV less so, but it is a significant issue. I know there's talk about this kind of triple-demic of COVID, flu, and RSV being an issue this winter. But as you see by the numbers on this slide, it primarily impacts older adults with, their immune system is waning, and young children whose immune system has not been developed sufficiently. But the numbers are significant. Again, from a cost standpoint, from a patient standpoint, 336,000 global hospitalizations for older adults, and 177,000 in the US alone. So it's very significant, and particularly in the young and children. Again, significant, severe cause of these lower respiratory tract infections. 33 million children globally getting this disease, and again, 120,000 deaths. So it's a significant disease that needs a lot of help. So this is where we're excited that our approach can contribute to developing therapeutics for this. The AI program itself, as I say, we're using data generated from a human challenge model where healthy volunteers are deliberately infected with the RSV virus, and we track their signs and symptoms, take their various blood samples, look at their gene expression, their protein expression, and then that's where the AI comes in. So we can compare those who are not infected to those who are getting mild disease and see how their immune system is responding. So down the bottom, it's just explain unstructured data. And this is, lots and lots of data that would take years for mere humans to interrogate and analyze. They build out through supercomputers and various algorithms, these disease models, what happens as a disease progresses, as people get sicker. This turns into signatures, what genes are up or down regulated at the same time, and then ultimately looking for these target identification. What can we drug to block the progression of the disease, to stop the immune system from overreacting, for example? And again, our work right now is focusing on target prioritization. As I say, the team from 13 have done terrific work over the last number of months. We signed a contract back in February. So this is what 8.5 months later, we're progressed to look at these newly identified drug targets. And again, it's rapid progression. Work that in previous times would have taken many years to do the same job. So very excited. And I will stress that this is unique. This data set is unique to Poolbeg. Nobody else, big pharma or anybody, has this data set. So they can't get the outputs from similar studies if they wanted to try their own ways. So again, very excited about this progress. As I say, we just got the data in the last few days. Very excited about it progressing. As I say, we'll meet with the 13 team in London on Thursday. Just one slide. I always love to drop in a data slide. but just give an example here of a gene X that they've identified. If you can just make out the green dots are the that's in your kind of healthy volunteers who are not sick. The big lines there in gray are actually the gene. You can see as the disease progresses, this gene is upregulated even further as the immune system is stressed and advances. So again, a prime target that we can, next step now is to look for drugs to hit these targets. So again, very excited about that. And it's all correlated then with your viral burden. As your viral numbers increases, this genes increase as well. So it's kind of a very exciting process. And again, as I say, this is new and novel and nobody else has this type of data. So again, very excited from a Poolbeg standpoint, how unique this is for us. Our second AI collaboration is with Cytoreason, who are based in Israel, who interestingly already have collaborations with Pfizer, Roche, Merck, and Sanofi. So some of the really big guys, and we're their partner of choice for infectious diseases. So we're quite excited to, that they're analyzing our influenza data. And then similarly on the last slide where I talked about the disease progression where healthy volunteers in this case get infected with influenza, and then that progresses to sickness, and they're able to identify the genes and proteins that are up or down regulated in response to the infection. So that analysis is ongoing at Cytoreason. They're optimizing or building the model right now on that, and that's progressing well. And then they have a longer time frame where we expect to get interesting targets, novel targets for influenza therapies coming out in Q2 of next year. So again, happy with the progress there. And again, it's a fantastic opportunity for a company like Poolbeg to have this data set analyzed by world-class AI companies. And as I say, the outputs will be unique, and we feel it's unique and will be of interest on their own, to pharma companies. So again, very excited to see where that takes us. Just a couple of minutes on our two other programs, or just a couple of slides. POLB 002, which we brought in from the University of Warwick, is a first-in-class broad-spectrum RNA-based intranasal immunotherapy. It's a single dose of intranasally to trigger broader respiratory viral infections. So this is flu and beyond. So we can use this for RSV as well as COVID, as well as other respiratory infectious diseases. The work has been done over 20 years at the University of Warwick. They really have brought this forward incredibly well to a very robust late-stage preclinical package. As I say, it's a single dose. It both prevents infection as well as blocks infection after you're infected. So again, a nice, fascinating, novel dual mechanism of action. So again, it triggers nasal cells into an antiviral state. So again, that's how it protects from further infection. And again, we talk about respiratory viral infections. I've talked about flu, I've talked about RSV, but as a whole, 5 to 20% of the global population are infected by respiratory viral infections, with 3 million deaths. So again, there is pandemic potential here, and it's a top 5 cause of global death. So again, it's there's always work to be done, and I think in a post-pandemic world, they're looking at other diseases and how we treat those. And again, one data slide. That's the scientist in me coming out. You can see how effective that this therapy is in blocking or protecting this species from influenza infection. Red line obviously is with treatment where there's no clinical deterioration. So excited about that program. And then lastly, POLB 003. We're moving into the bacterial world right now. This is a gram-negative bacteria, Burkholderia pseudomallei. Many, I'm sure, would not have heard of it up to now, but it's rampant in the tropical and subtropical world. You can see there in red that there were 6 deaths from this infection recently. There is quite staggering. People are getting concerned about the endemic potential broadening out in a climate change world. This bacteria appears to be spreading as the world is warming up. Its habitat is expanding. You can catch this disease from inhalation, got it through wounds, get it through food. And as I say, there's a 54% fatality. So 165 cases annually. And even with antibiotic treatments, there's a 54% fatality. There's no vaccines out there for this. So we see this as a great opportunity to push it forward. Again, seeking non-dilutive funding to bring this forward. This is a key goal, a key aim of Poolbeg. And as I say, the US in particular are interested in this because they see this as a tier 1 biothreat agent. It's up there with anthrax, for example, that if a bad agent, a bad actor gets their hands on this, they can spread it and cause havoc very quickly. So my last slide is just a summary of who we are and where we are. As I say, we've made a lot of progress this year. We will continue to do so. some near-term value inflection points focused on the readouts. We'll have initial readouts from the LPS challenge study by the end of this year. The AI program, as I say, we have the targets now. We're going to look
to the second question, please.
We're going to look for drugs that beyond this right now. So that's the next step here. The team, as I say, is we've built a team, we've expanded a team, so we're executing on our strategy. As I say, we're hiring, and we hired a new head of business development and a new global clinical director as we head in those directions. We don't plan to fundraise. We're always stressing that. We have a cash balance in the middle of the year, 18.9 million, and the capital light model allows us to generate data rapidly and then partner quite quickly while not spending too much funds to do that. And again, focused on infectious diseases, as we know that's a big and growing market, and pharma need products, and we'll be there to provide them with them. So again, a great opportunity to drive shareholder value well into the future. Thank you, Donald, for the time again.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you very much indeed. You squeezed an awful lot in your 20 minutes there. You did very well.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and you paraphrased it beautifully. Thank you very much. So what happens next with the RSV AI study that you announced this morning? As you said, it's taken 8.5 months to get to this point. What's next?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. As I say, part of the strategy now is like we've identified targets, and these are kind of targets, potential drug targets that we know are impacted by RSV infection. And now we want to identify drugs that then can target those targets and block those targets. And as you know, the business model is looking for drugs that have pre-existing clinical data, ideally. So that's where they're already known to be safe and well tolerated. They might have been put into the clinic for another disease, but nobody heretofore understood that they could have a potential benefit in RSV, and that's where our knowledge and expertise can play a role. So we'll be seeking for these drugs. So by the end of the year, as I say, it's rapid progress without question. But by the end of the year, we hope to identify some of these drugs and then get access to them. We got to do some testing in RSV models to demonstrate that proof of concept, proof of mechanism, and then move it forward rapidly into clinical testing. And again, ultimately partnering with pharma. As I say, RSV, there's still a large unmet medical need for this respiratory viral infection. And this is a new and novel approach to identify targets and drugs.
You're working with 1-3, you're working with Cytoreason, you declare these to be world-class. Do you see this as the way forward, not just for yourselves, but for other people in your spot, in your area?
It's a good question. I think, from an AI standpoint, it's like you have this kind of this intersection where computer power has advanced, programming power has advanced, data sets are now accessible, and up to now there was more of a manual curation approach. Absolutely, I think there's a way to analyze data rapidly, large data sets rapidly, and coming up and understanding better what's going on in the disease situation. I think infectious diseases is quite unique, particularly with the challenge model that we have, where you have a person comes in, they're healthy, then they get sick, and then they recover, and you can track all the way along what's going on. Maybe a bit more challenging in an oncology setting where they're seeing patients when they're already sick. But I think definitely there's going to be a lot of emphasis on AI in the future. Whether it's
I'm going to cheer you up, Jeremy. I'm going to cheer you up immensely. It entirely depends on the quality of the data that you put in terms of the outcomes.
Yes.
And you guys have got fantastic data sets. So
pristine is the word we use. It's pristine.
There you go.
It's really good data sets. As I say, it's clean, and having people that are healthy become sick and recover. Nobody else has that type of data. So perfect for infectious diseases as well. So very excited about that.
Okay, let me turn to 001. In simple terms, if 001 comes good, is it a financial game changer, do you think? I mean, I know I'm loading an awful lot on you, but if it was good...
like deal terms, as I say, we've got very strong intellectual property around the use of P38 inhibitors in severe influenza. So there's a market there for that, we know. So if the data comes through, you're right. The deal terms are David English, fantastic to have him on board. The dialogues, he had a very busy Bio Europe. We're at Jefferies in London next week with 30-odd meetings with various groups. So, yes, 2023 is transaction year. So again, having the data set in hand and then beginning the deal work. And as we say, the business model is the upfronts, milestones, royalties. That's funneled or funded back into the company to build our pipeline even further, to have more deals, have more assets to partner. So that'll be the key catalyst, I think. And I think proof of, demonstrating the business model works. I think that's key. So as I say, we've worked really hard this year to push the program forward. And again, we're excited to see the data come out as well. So
okay.
and
a question in from Robin Davidson here. Can you disclose how many novel RSV targets have been identified with 1.3? How many of these RSV targets have known drugs, as mentioned in the RNS? And what are your selection criteria for taking these forwards? I know you're going to say you're actually physically meeting with these folks on Thursday, but beyond that.
But beyond that, we've just received, as you know, a public company, as soon as we get the data in, we have to, or you have to announce, or we've had a look at it. We're excited to see, what's in there. I think there's some things that kind of surprised us, pleasantly surprised us. That's just the target phase. Then the drug phase comes next, and that's where 1.3 are moving into that next phase of analysis right now. So that, and we hope that that'll be rapid as well. So 8 months, maybe in the next few weeks, the next 4 weeks, we should have, some understanding of that. Certainly by the end of the year, all going well. So again, pleasantly surprised with what we've seen thus far, but obviously we need to dig in a little bit deeper, having just received the data recently before announcing.
Okay, melodoliosis, which I can't actually pronounce, but I give it my best shot. I give it my best shot there. What are the next steps with that one?
Yeah, so this is, again, it's a program with a late preclinical package, a lot of good preclinical data. There's clean toxicology studies. So the next natural step then is kind of manufacturing, getting it into humans as quickly as possible. We would like this to be, externally funded through grant funding. So we've got a number of inroads, let's say, into the US, as I mentioned, are keen on that. The various US government bodies like NIH, for example. So again, very exciting. There's nothing else out there for this disease that, as I say, there's a significant unmet need for this with no vaccines on the market whatsoever. Okay,
Sparky J asks, have you received, he's talking about PLB 001, have you received any preliminary feedback from the lab concerning 001? And are you positive it is working as you believe it would? He's a cynic.
It's not a cynic, it's a direct question, but obviously we can't comment that. It's a blinded study. So as I say, we've got volunteers that come in. Some 9 of the 12 received drug, 3 of them received placebo. So we don't know who's received what. And as I say, that's over 3 different doses. We just started the last dose right now, so we don't have any insights into that yet, and neither should we, because again, it tends to kind of spoil the clinical trial. So it's a blinded study. So we're I don't want to, in the dark. I don't like to use that. Obviously, we're happy with progress right now, but we don't have great insight into data yet. Just yet. That all will be
quite
read.
No, that makes a lot of sense. He also asks a second question: any progression on the reverse takeover into NASDAQ, and would you be searching for the company with product and out of cash, or a similar one as Poolbeg with he describes a good wedge of cash as well as promising products?
Yeah, we have work ongoing in the background. That's another thing that's keeping us busy. As Cathal likes to say, our chairman, there's a lot of fallen angels. People who's have more cash than their value. They might have stumbled in the clinic and they're looking for alternatives. And we think Poolbeg is a great opportunity. The news flow that we'll have over the next number of years, the products we'll be bringing forward the next number of years. We'd love to get into the US market. As you know, we have an OTC listing that was dipping our toes, but we'd like to get onto full NASDAQ. So we've got discussions ongoing in the background. We're exploring a number of opportunities. Like synergy with an infectious disease company is kind of an obvious overlap. But we'll cast the net broader than that. But we're looking hard at opportunities in that space.
What difference would a full NASDAQ listing make for you?
It's a really good question. I think it's access, obviously, to a larger market. It's access to a broader investor base. I mean, liquidity without question, will be a lot better on NASDAQ. And we hope that the share, both sets of share prices goes up, from the London name as well as US NASDAQ. But again, it's as I say, it's a bigger market essentially. But getting into that market would be terrific. And as I say, we can there's a growing obviously population in the US as well who are in need of our products. So it's getting the Poolbeg name out there as well will help.
Okay, let me quickly ask you a personal question, Jeremy. I do apologize for this. Presumably you were happy to be able to actually buy some Poolbeg shares.
Finally, yes. I mean, it's a question that I had every time, and and people will recognize we have RNSs coming out almost bi-weekly at this stage. But the nomads and the brokers were ultra cautious, and I fully understand that with what's coming down the pike with regards to news flow. So they were very resistant to me purchasing well before I did. But finally, the window opened and it says, "Sure, off you go." So yeah, so happy to be formally on board as a shareholder. you know, and as I say, it's you know, I know I appreciate people like, you know, the skin in the game approach, and that's perfectly fine. I fully understand that. So it's good to have skin in the game while we work so hard to push the programs.
I hear this from so many CEOs that they actually find it extremely difficult to find a gap in the, you know, regulatory gap where they're not actually privy to insider information in order to actually buy the shares. I mean, it's
blame the brokers, not the CEO.
Oh, exactly. It's the nomads.
Yes, but I appreciate where they're coming from.
Great. Okay. Final question. News flow. What can we expect in the next few months from Poolbeg?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about 001 as you know, the wrapping up of that trial, as I say, before the end of the year. You know, hopefully we'll get a kind of an early data read and understanding. As I say, it'll still be blinded, but it'll give us an understanding. You know, continuing progress with the AI. As I say, we talked about having targets for RSV, looking for drugs, right? You know, will be the next phase, so that'll be it as well. And of course the cider reason, you know, but as I said, there's a lot going on. There'll be a lot of news flow, you know. We're you know, as you can appreciate, we're quite prompt, and we're kind of very respectful of the market, keeping them updated as best we can. So yeah, we'll keep going. We'll keep working hard. You know, we're very excited about this space. I think we've kind of found a nice niche. We found a very unique, very nice business model, and you know, you want to execute as best as we can.
Jeremy Skillington, CEO at Poolbeg Pharma, thank you so much for joining us. That was absolutely terrific. That was a half an hour well spent in your company.